Once again, good evening, everyone. I am pleased to welcome you to the first public session of the Employee Experience course. As I think you already know, this session is open to the public, meaning that everyone is welcome to attend. This course, it is quite, you might say, unique because employee experience is a new topic. Companies are just now starting to think about it. Well, in response to such trends, I decided to create a course to share what the employee experience is and how to work with it. Here is a link to the course website. You can even just see in this address, write and go to the site. I will post the presentation, of course, to our Academy Telegram channel. What is our course syllabus like, Anus? Today we are going to talk about what the employee experience consists of, how to conduct an employee experience audit. In the second step, in the second session, we will break down, as we do in all of our other sessions, the different stages of the employee experience and what the company can do to improve the situation. Because very often an employee experience audit diagnosis can show that a company has a problem with the way it has an employee organized. So why should you even think about an employee's experience? That is what I am going to tell you today. I will start with a little introduction, in case there is someone we have not met yet. My name is Mike Pritula. The list of companies I have worked for is on your screen. I have been in HR for 15 years and enjoy sharing my experience with my students. I use global HR best practices in my work, share with students, and study regularly. And I am going to ask you to write a little bit about yourself. Please write where you are from, what city you are looking at, your position and your company. This is how you can make yourself known and meet other participants. Well, it will be interesting in general what our geography is today, who is watching us. So I would appreciate it if you could write a couple lines about yourself. All right, well, who will be the first to go to Ukraine? Thank you, Julia. And the post? How does yours sound? And the company, if I may, if it is not a secret, you do not hide it. Intel 71 HR Manager. I wonder where I haven't even heard of the company. I am from the city of Lviv. I work HR in a chain of home goods stores. Cool Kiev GBS Ltd. Participants wrote on Facebook. While you're writing, I'll appeal to those watching on Facebook. Please click to start a party, or start a watch pay, or start a broadcast or repost, so that other people can see this broadcast and learn what the employee experience is like, because the topic is extremely important. Okay, thanks to all of you who have written, who are writing, finish writing. I'll read up as soon as you write while I go on. So those who are already on the course, I would like to say that all completed homework assignments lead to a diploma after taking the course, so make sure you do all homework. Today we are going to talk about I will meet a girl from Char for a serious relationship. So today we're going to have our first session on what is the employee experience, what are the 3 environments that affect the employee experience. We're going to explore a tool called an employee experience card. And we'll also look at questionnaires that allow a company to measure the employee experience and draw conclusions. Good company form experience or bad? Well, accordingly with this, you need to continue to work. So employee experience. To date, as I said at the beginning of our session today, this is a trend in not only HR, I would say even in business. Because just recently, companies have been talking about the importance of engagement. Before that, companies talked about the importance of productivity. And even before that, companies didn't care much about what people out there thought about their jobs or how they worked. Companies didn't give people the basic tools and say, go work. But time goes on, things change. Companies realize that they don't just need employees, they need employees who are productive, engaged, and employees who work a little bit differently than their competitors. Why is it necessary to have employees work differently? What does the company gain from this different work format? And why you need to care about employee experience, I'm going to talk today about what gives a company under employee experience that can get a company. So for now, in a nutshell, that employee experience is such a harmonious extension of the themes that have been called productivity, engagement. It's an experience right now. What is the employee experience? How can a company manage it? The employee experience is the intersection of everything employees want, i.e. their expectations, needs and wants, and what the company can provide them. The way the company organizes work with an eye on what employees want. It is believed that there are about 17 attributes in a company that shape the employee experience. And at different stages of the employee life cycle, they make one impression or another. It's described very well. This model is described in the book that you have on your screen. I recommend reading it. If you read it in English, if you don't, I think there's a chance it could be translated into Russian. But if you're not even reading this, we're about to go into more detail about what it is. So, it is believed that employee experience is shaped by 3 environments: technological, cultural, and physical environment. Let's start with the physical environment. It's called a cool office. That is, the kind of experience employees have in the company depends on how their work is organized from an office perspective. What walks around here? The first is this kind of office, where people prefer and choose to bring their friends and acquaintances, their pets, their children, and so on. It's an indicator that this office is so good that you can and want to bring people here to show them how cool it is to work here. The second element of a cool office is work flexibility. It's the ability to come to work when it's convenient for the person and leave work when it's convenient. The ability to work remotely when necessary. The third component of such an office is when there's a display of values in the office. I mean, not just posters on the walls or pictures in meeting rooms, but really the whole office is imbued with this culture. That is, certain attributes that, while in this office, remind you of the company's culture and values. And those are different options for a workplace. They are now comparing the modern office to a home. That is, a modern office, like a modern home, should be multifunctional. There should be space for individual work, teamwork, meetings, rest, eating, maybe even exercise. All these 4 components create an excellent physical environment. That is, people feel physically comfortable here. The second component of the employee experience is technology. The technology a company provides its employees also shapes the experience, either good or bad. What does this mean? First, the company allows all employees to use the technology they need. There's no separation where top management can choose a laptop, but regular employees can't choose a laptop or wireless headphones. Top managers are entitled, but ordinary employees are not. This kind of discrimination shouldn't exist. All employees should have the opportunity to get the equipment they need. Second, the technology the company uses isn't overly complex or convoluted, but similar to what a person would use in everyday life. The company doesn't force you to use some complex cloud-based document storage system that requires crazy actions to use. The company either allows the use of common resources like Google Drive or Dropbox, or very similar technology that's just as comfortable to use. And the third aspect in technology is when a company focuses on employee needs as much as business needs. When there's no situation in the company where IT people say, well, you want a MacBook, but you'll work on Windows because it's convenient for us. You'll actually end up with some old Windows version. It's about whose voice is more important in the company, not what's more important. It's about how much the company cares about and enables people to work with technologies that are convenient and necessary for them to work effectively, rather than just IT service making decisions. And the third component of the employee experience is the culture the company builds. Here are several attributes of a culture that creates a great employee experience. It's positive intercompany relationships, when everyone in the company is valued, when there's understanding, a sense of purpose. When employees feel part of the team, there's support for diversity and inclusion. When employees recommend other employees. Employees have the opportunity to learn what they want, and companies allocate money for it. Employees are treated fairly. Top managers and executives act as coaches and mentors. The company cares about the health and well-being of employees. These cultural elements create a positive experience. Now I invite you all to take a survey to evaluate your company's experience. I'm sharing it in the chat, in Facebook comments, and in the Academy's Telegram chat. Please follow this link and fill out the questionnaire. When you complete the questionnaire, put a plus sign so I'll know you filled it out. Meanwhile, I'll open the survey results and see what data we're getting. If you're watching, for example, on Facebook and can't see this questionnaire, go to Telegram, type Mike Pritula Academy. And the first link in the Mike Pritula Academy chat is called chat. The first link will be a link to the questionnaire. Let's go through it and see how it works. You can use this kind of questionnaire in your company. Your company can launch a questionnaire and measure how good your employee experience is in the business. And if it's not very good, maybe there are some difficulties or problems. For example, in terms of technology, you might not be giving people the exact technologies they're comfortable with. In terms of the office, you might not have the best office. In terms of culture, there might also be some problems. So I suggest you take it and put a plus when you're done. All your answers are anonymous, meaning no one will see how you answered, but it will be interesting to see on average in companies what kind of experience is being formed. So here's the first response already received. Hopefully we'll have a few more responses that can be analyzed. I suggest those of you who are taking it continue to do so. I'll move on a bit and then we'll look at the results you got. So this questionnaire uses a 5-point scale, as you've noticed, and it has 17 questions. Accordingly, when you apply this in a company, you can calculate the overall employee experience score for the company. Here on the screen, you have the results. I can already see 2 answers. Thank you to those who responded. On the screen, you can see how good or not so good your situation is in terms of employee experience, and you can work on improving that. This is a presentation with this link. You only have a link to view it and a link to copy it for yourself. So, this presentation with this link will be posted in the Academy chat. You can download it and use this questionnaire for your company. Let's move on. It's important to understand. In every company, the experience is shaped by certain moments that occur in the interaction between the employee and the company. Such moments are called moments of truth. And these moments of truth shape either a good experience or a bad one. For example, one very telling moment of truth in employee experience that I know, which I've observed frequently in different forms, is the onboarding process in HR. An employee comes to work on their first day, goes to HR, and paperwork is done. And in HR, there can be different scenarios. Scenario number 1. He goes to HR, which is located in some rundown, neglected room in the company, because why would they give HR anything nice? There are half-broken chairs. Nobody is expecting anyone. A person comes in and says, "Hello, new employee, human resources. Who are you? What's your last name? What position are you being hired for? Who's your supervisor? I see. As usual, we weren't notified about your start date. Well, sit down." They give him a stack of documents. Sit and read, fill them out, ask if you have questions. There's a sample over there. There's some shabby table, a pen on a string, and the person starts filling out forms. It's a terrible experience that might make some people want to run away, realizing where they've ended up. The second option, which we implemented at STB TV channel, for example. And in the first scenario, when the person starts asking questions about the contract, they're told, "Just sign it, why are you reading it? We're not going to change anything anyway." If you're not satisfied, you don't have to sign, you can leave. So they spend 2 or 3 hours there, leave feeling completely drained, thinking, "God, I hope I never have to come back here." This is the first experience, and it's a bad one. This is a moment of truth. The second experience, a person comes to HR. The HR department is located in a very nice, comfortable office. The HR area is divided into a workspace for employees and an area for visitors. There are comfortable chairs, tables, good sample forms, nice pens. Before coming to HR, the person is emailed all the documents to review and possibly fill out at home. The person might even fill out a questionnaire online. But at the office, a person comes with documents. A special administrator who can type quickly and knows how to communicate with people sits there and quickly enters all the data into the system based on what the person says. The person only needs to sign, and they already know everything in advance. This is a completely different experience. There can be a huge number of such moments of truth in a person's work experience at a company. We'll get to them in a moment. It's important to understand that the topic of company experience has been discussed for a long time. That is, companies have long been saying that customer experience is very important, that employees are also important to us, but few companies have linked employee experience and customer experience. Very often it looks like this. We try to be a super cool, stellar top company for clients, but for employees, everything is terrible, run down, awful offices, slow computers, and so on. And then the company is surprised that customers are somehow dissatisfied because we're supposedly forcing all employees to create an excellent experience for customers. In fact, these things are connected. That is, it's not possible for a company to have customers receiving a great experience while employees are having a very poor experience. These things are necessarily linked. If a company doesn't care about providing a good experience, sooner or later it loses customers to competitors, and eventually the company goes bankrupt. It's important to understand that employees have the biggest influence on customer experience, and employee experience is shaped by how the company provides various services to its own employees. That is, the internal processes a company builds will directly affect how employees work and interact with customers. That's just how it works, no other way. Now let's look at the statistics objectively. Gallup research shows that globally, only 15% of employees are engaged. 60% of people are not engaged at work, 25% are actively disengaged. So, what kind of customer experience can we expect in business if we know that most people are not engaged? Probably not a good one either. Therefore, companies should think about what kind of employee experience they're creating so that employees are engaged and loyal, so that such employees create an excellent customer experience, and customers in turn are loyal, come back again, recommend the company, and so on. There's no other way. Let's move on. So what is employee experience in the end? Employee experience is the sum of all the experiences an employee has with the company, colleagues, managers, everything during their time in their position. At different stages, there will be different types of experiences. It's like the kind of account that either gets funded and goes to plus, or constantly goes to zero or goes to minus. There are people who came into the company with a plus forest with zero, left with a big minus, so much so the company's devastated. They write negative reviews on websites. They tell everyone what a terrible company it is. Even after they leave the company, they continue to hurt it as much as they can. There's some awful company writing in the Facebook comments. And in general, do everything they can because their company has taken them to a severe disadvantage. There are, on the contrary, a company has created such a cool experience that a person leaves the company with tears in their eyes, even if they are leaving on their own. Man, you guys are so great, I so don't want to leave, but I've been offered 10 times the salary. So I leave the company, I continue to communicate, continue to help, continue to maintain all communications. Wants to come back and actually sometimes even comes back. That's the kind of experience we have too. So let's see what our answers are. Oh cool, there are 5 answers. I'm going to search the screen now. What are we getting? So this is the same kind of questionnaire you can do for your company and see the answers like this. There will still be a table where you can count everything. The first organization offers good jobs. Most of them are great. Values, that's okay too. Transferring friends is all good too. This is where we see a problem. Flexible work options with flexible work schedules from participants in this issue are not present here. There is a sense of meaning to the importance of the work. Fair treatment is their value, not everyone has it the same way. Managers, coaches, and mentors aren't all perfect either. Feeling part of a team. All right, chuckles. So promotional opportunities and resource support are good too. Recommendations to work great. Further diversity and inclusivity is great to eat. Welfare support? Well, not bad, although there are 2s and 3s. Strong positive brand perception is also present. Technology, not great, not bad, but most are hesitant. The availability of technology is a good thing. Further orientations to the needs of employees. Technology is good too, that you can improve feedback, technology, more training. This is the kind of tool, it's already available to you, you can use for your organization to count the current employee experience and then set goals for promotion. What's important to realize is that the employee experience, like the customer experience, doesn't just happen. It has to be managed, it has to be built. Why? Because the coworker experience is built on social psychology. In everyday life, it's called treating people the way you want them to treat you. In business, it's called this: treat your employees the way you want your employees to treat your customers. So it needs to be managed. How is this interconnected? Here's a chart like this that shows the correlation. When employees are happy, they try their best to do the best they can for customers. And then really the customers are happy and the customers do everything for the company. Recommend rebuys? All sorts of parts are praised and so on. Of course, a lot of things are influenced in this whole staff thing. Control in its own hands will begin to manage these elements, then quite quickly, it will get loyal and satisfied customers. Unfortunately, not all companies pay attention to this at all. That is only 58% of the staff. Sorry, on the contrary, 58% of employees were not trained in any way at all on how to take care of customers. That is why very often we call somewhere in the center and wait on the line for a long time until we are answered, because nobody's in a hurry there either. Moreover, for example, the problem of all sorts of government agencies, they also very often have a huge problem with the customer experience. Because no one cares about the people there either, most of the time. Now the transformation begins, some more or less good approaches appear, but very often the state stands apart from all the others. That's why bad experiences hurt business. Because there is no competition, companies that treat their employees poorly, and vice versa, companies that build relationships with employees and work with customers in a different way. It is not without reason that private bank Monobank showed an example, because it is known that the number of clients of Monobank grows simply exponentially. If you follow the success, if I'm not mistaken, Monobank has already 2 million customers today, and all these customers are massively switching, not only with private bank, in fact, from other banks, giving preference because they get a different customer experience there, but inside there is a different experience for the employees. Even though the team seems to be the same team transitioned, that's how it works. It's all different. Let's move on. Nowadays, there are many resources where people leave ratings and reviews. That is, if, for example, 5-10 years ago, many service businesses could afford to ignore what kind of experience customers were having at all. There are restaurants, hotels, and more. They couldn't have cared less. But for today, when you can easily leave a review on Facebook, on Google, on bookings, in general on different VBIG, the same thing, then companies start to realize that they want good feedback from customers and start looking for what can help them. And here it is only the employee experience, the management of the employee experience that can make the difference. That said, what an interesting thing. Companies often have marketers or service or customer. They're called service executives who take care of the customer experience. They listen to call center operators' conversations. They run various surveys, NPS, Net Promoter Score, and so on. But very often companies don't have someone who purposefully takes care of the employee experience. This function is kind of in HR, but HR doesn't always even realize such a function or task exists. So taking control of employee experience management and managing online reviews is now a business necessity. It's important to understand that this entire experience is formed throughout a person's whole life cycle in the company. So it's not just about the hiring phase or employer brand, it's about how a person works up until termination and how they leave. Let's do another quick test for you. It's a very simple question. I'll ask you to answer with a plus or minus. Attention, here's the question. Does your company have a paper exit clearance form? If you have one, give me a plus. If you don't have one, give me a minus. A paper exit clearance form. That document with a list of departments where the employee has to go and get each department's signature. Okay, I see 4 minuses in the chat. Here on Zoom and Facebook, it's still quiet. Friends, those who put a minus, I'm happy for you. I don't know, maybe those who have it just decided not to write. Congratulations, because a paper exit clearance form is pointless. There's no need for it? I'm back. Yes, they say Zoom has been acting up lately. Can you hear me okay? Everything good? The Zoom servers can't handle the load. I'd appreciate if you could put a plus in the chat so I know you can hear me properly. Yes, thank you, doctor. So, there's a specific tool to evaluate the employee experience. It's called an employee experience journey map. It comes from marketing. In marketing, there's a customer experience journey map. In HR, there's an employee experience journey map. With this tool, you can analyze the employee lifecycle at all its stages and understand how much of a positive experience is being created, or ultimately you can get a diagram like this. Looks like someone turned on their microphone. Thank you for letting me know about that. I'll turn off all microphones except mine now. Yes, now I've turned off all the microphones. So, a map like this can help uncover one or even several problems in the employee experience. For example, misunderstanding expectations for their work. It could be some kind of poor company culture and so on. In general, various problems can surface when using this tool. How does such a tool work? This map here is an example. In your company, it might look a bit different. All processes and touch points between the company and employee are mapped across all life cycle stages, from when they're still a candidate to onboarding, working, termination, maintaining contact, and potential return. The most typical touch points between employee and company are listed here. Then the company simply applies a color coding or rating to all stages. The company can color in green all the stages that create a positive experience for the person. That is, the company knows or can measure that things are good there. Red for anything that currently causes a negative experience. Yellow for what's currently neutral. It doesn't irritate the person but doesn't delight them either. And gray if the company doesn't know at all. The ultimate goal is to make everything here green. That is, first to study how things are at all stages, not to have any unmeasured touch points. Remove all the reds, definitely, and turn all the yellows and oranges into greens. It's important to understand here that at each stage the employee has certain goals. They're listed here, you can analyze them. At every stage there are human expectations. They're also listed here, you can analyze them too and ask yourself questions. Are we meeting expectations here or not? A good approach in using this tool is to put yourself in the employee's shoes. That is, imagine yourself as an employee, maybe even physically walk through it if you don't know, in order to really feel it all. Another option is to take a new employee who recently started and go through all the stages with them. This is just an enlarged version for those who will be viewing the presentation. There are also certain metrics recommended to observe at each stage to understand how well that stage is working. And there's a questionnaire with very simple questions that, has made its way in here. A questionnaire that assesses all 5 main stages of the employee life cycle and allows you to understand how well thought out or not the company's items are at each stage. I recommend, even if you're not yet in the course, to color in a map like this for yourself and understand where and how things stand for you. That is, you can draw on a board or paper all your stages and evaluate them on this scale. Next, it's important to understand that ultimately I think you can see from the map too, that managing employee experience is about focused actions. In all our subsequent sessions in this course, all 5 sessions will be talking about what specifically the company should do. So our course will be structured that way. Let me show you. In one session, we'll go through all these points, what specifically needs to be here for the experience to be positive. In the third session, we'll cover this part and continue like this until we reach the very end. We'll break down each element the company needs to align to make the employee experience positive. I recommend every service business do this exercise. Key areas of focus mean it's important to realize you need to first think about the experiences people have. Simply paying attention to experience can be an insight or revelation for many companies, because there are companies that have never thought about it. I have 2 favorite comparisons. The first comparison is a question like this. Ask yourself the following question. In your company, just considering the office. Is the office environment better or worse than your employees' homes? Put a plus if you think it's better, a minus if worse. Put a 0 if you think it's the same. Consider all the comfort, interior, equipment, pleasantness of being there. This first question makes you think about what we're creating for people. Why do I ask that? It's very simple. Every employee in your company, every day except weekends, wakes up in their warm, cozy bed, takes a shower or brushes their teeth, has breakfast in their kitchen and goes to work. And they have some kind of mindset at that moment. For some, home was beautiful, good, cozy, everything well organized, but work is bad. For others, it's the opposite. Someone living in a rented apartment or their inexpensive apartment with basic renovations comes to a great office and feels their quality of life improve. Here we have a +0 and here we have 2 pluses. It's all very positive. But for some it's the opposite. I don't believe, and I'll tell you a case study, I don't believe in the long-term success when employees feel worse at work than at home. A friend of mine once said, Maya, I need your advice. I don't understand what's happening with the employees. We bend over backwards for them. We're a small company, but they leave us. We invest, develop, pay well, have benefits, take care of them, but people leave. We started discussing it. Well, tell me where you are, how you work. We work well. We have an office for employees. It's great. Where's the office? In the center of Kiev. Great. Somewhere near the Golden Gate. Good. What kind of building is your office in? Our office is in a building. What kind of building? A residential building. I say, what kind of building is it? Well, like a regular building. A Khrushchevka, that sort of thing. Uh-huh. So there's a regular entrance that people use. Well, yeah, like in an apartment building. What's inside the office? It's a remodeled apartment. So what kind of renovation do you have? Flooring, tiles, wallpaper? I'm listening to him. Kitchen. Well, yeah, what kind of kitchen? There's furniture. Show me the pictures. They start showing pictures and it's a mess. An apartment like from the 80s, you know? It looks very primitive, depressing. What do you expect from the young people you hire? They know what a normal office looks like. They've traveled in Europe. Maybe they live in nice apartments at home. They come to you and see all this junk. You won't have anything good until you move out of this office. Let's move on. Training managers on how to handle the employee experience. That's also important. It's not just HR work. It should concern everyone in the company. Next. Ideally, the entire company should care about putting the employee experience on the agenda. Company leaders should talk about it. We're interested in creating a good employee experience, so the company should say our mission is to create a positive employee experience. So that eventually employees themselves start saying our company provides a good experience here, it cares. Next, it's important to think about which employee behaviors will support the employee experience and which won't. That means rethinking the culture. Culture is a whole separate topic. It has a big influence. We've seen that culture is one of the environments. You can create a great office, you can create great technology. But if you ignore the culture aspect, people will swear at employees. People will, withhold information, managers will withhold information from employees. And in the end, your beautiful office won't be so beautiful in terms of the atmosphere inside. Next, of course, there's research. The company needs to study the employee experience and understand what areas need improvement. Next, the action plan is what the company needs to develop. Based on the research, some points that can and should be improved will definitely be identified. Accordingly, these points need to be addressed. Someone, most likely the team, but also part of management, should include annual plans in their portal goals to improve certain indicators. Employer brand ambassadors are also an important topic, because there are always people in the company who are ready to support different initiatives. Those who are most loyal, who actively promote the culture and employer brand. It's important for the company to identify who these people are now and work with them in every way to further enhance the employee experience. Incentives can also be a good tool for actions focused on improving the employee experience. Companies sometimes have nominations like Employee of the Month for doing something good for customers. That's great. Why not create a nomination for the Employee of the Month who did something for other employees? The best accountant who provided the best service to company employees, or the best HR person who best served the company's employees. And don't be put off by the word served. There's nothing wrong with it, because service is an important part, and there's no shame in it. Or maybe the best driver who did the best job. These kinds of nominations can encourage the right behavior. It's also useful to evaluate a manager's performance. We're talking about the employee experience in the company today, but let's be honest. For an employee, there is no company. There's only their manager who represents the company. So evaluating managers' actions is important too. I'm a fan of Google's questionnaire for this. It's very simple, just 13 questions that I think perfectly assess managers' work, and I recommend everyone implement this questionnaire in their company to evaluate managers' performance and see how well or poorly they're leading. I'm often asked how to evaluate managers or how to get managers to meet with employees, how to explain to managers what needs to be done. This is what I recommend. Start with a simple evaluation where employees rate their managers. For many managers, this can be an eye-opener when employees, rather than the managers themselves thinking they're doing great and leading so well. All our employees are happy and satisfied. Even the author of this questionnaire, Laszlo Bock, wrote about it in his book. He says, "I was shocked when I found out my employees rated me below the company average. I was very ashamed and set myself a goal to become one of the top leaders within a year. I worked on it for a year and achieved good ratings." I was surprised that Laszlo Bock, being Google's HR director, who should be a role model, initially had a low rating. Next is the workplace. It's very important not to underestimate it, because where and in what conditions employees work is very important. For example, I'll ask you a few questions to think about, and you tell me how many of you have thought about this. I'll start with the simple ones. Question number 1. Who has thought about what kind of chairs people sit on? How ergonomic are these chairs? How comfortable do they make your back feel if you sit on them all day? That's the first question. Second question, who has thought about how an employee's hands rest on the desk? There are certain principles that hands shouldn't be too high or too low. That is, an employee shouldn't sit too high or too low. The desk surface shouldn't have sharp edges. For example, if you have cheap desks with sharp edges. So this part, let's say the corner of the desk is very sharp. If a person rests their arms, it pinches either their wrist or elbow. The solution might be to put a rubber mat on top. Next, how many of you measure temperature and humidity levels in the office and how well they match good standards? Next question, how many of you measure CO2 levels in the office? Specifically CO2 because many mistakenly think they need to measure oxygen levels. Productivity doesn't drop because of lack of oxygen, but because of excessive CO2 levels. There are special sensors that measure this. Furthermore, who has measured workplace light levels and noise levels? How many decibels of noise are currently in the office, especially in open spaces? All of this relates to the workplace, everything that affects how employees work. In fact, there are many more things to track here to create a good experience. Regarding technology, what can be recommended? First of all, IT services. I happened to talk with many IT professionals last year. They still think in some companies that they're in charge, that they manage something, that it's some super important service. Even now, they still dictate what services the company will or won't use, what technologies the company will or won't use. This is a misconception. The IT department is a service department like many others in the company. They should approach people and ask what resources they need. Do you need a cloud-based system? Okay, we'll think about how to make it secure. You want to work on MacBooks? All right. We'll figure out how to integrate your MacBooks into our network and service them. I don't know, you want something else? You want to work from home remotely? Okay, we'll think about how to set up a secure connection and secure your laptop so you can work from home. This is what needs to be done. What's also important to understand is that process automation greatly simplifies employee experience management and significantly improves the employee experience. This applies to all areas, actually. We often talk about automation, but there's also financial automation. It's not just one thing. There's sales automation with CRM and marketing. And of course, there's HR automation. I believe that a modern company can't exist without HR automation that continuously and regularly improves their employees' experience. So, if your company hasn't automated yet, noise levels are one of the main issues. If your company hasn't automated HR yet, 2 years ago, I was prepared to accept objections. And yes, there really weren't any good Russian language systems. There were English ones, but they were relatively expensive. For example, Bamboo HR, which is one of the world leaders in HR automation. It's only available in English, and it costs $5 per person per month. I see, it might be expensive for some. I used to accept excuses. Now, with everything developing, there are numerous affordable Russian language solutions like Herma, so these excuses are no longer accepted. So, excuse me, if a company with 1,000 employees can't pay $1.25 per employee per month, a serious company spends more on pens and paper for employees than on an automation system. While pens and paper don't affect efficiency, automation systems save time, improve experience, and impact efficiency. The system is expanding. There are good recruiting solutions like Clever, Huflo, and Patok. There are universal systems like Herma that also have these features. I think more specialized solutions will appear in this area, like Russian language 360-degree assessments and competency evaluations. And some of them continue to be expensive. For some reason, I don't know why. Out of habit, I guess, but some of them are starting to become quite affordable. Therefore, I recommend paying special attention to automation. To help you out, we've agreed that you can get an additional discount using a promo code, so try to automate. Books I can recommend based on today's topic. The first 2 books are about employee experience. They're the most recent ones, not yet translated into Russian. But that doesn't mean there aren't good books in Russian. There are 2 books, one of them often mentioned, Delivering Happiness. And the second book, unfairly overlooked, Dream Job. Although the second book is in some ways even better than the first. So if you've read Delivering Happiness, make sure to read Dream Job. If you haven't read either of them, definitely read both, because they cover a lot about employee experience. What else? To my great joy, a huge number of good books are being published about employee experience and how people work in organizations. I mean, I could name dozens. But of those I'd like to highlight for today's class, there's an additional book on engagement, 12, The Elements of Great Managing, and First Break All the Rules, and a book about modern motivation, Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. I recommend those as well. Homework for those already in the course. You'll have the option to conduct one of the surveys or color an employee experience map. Survey number 1 is this one, survey number 2 is the one you took today, and the employee experience map is this one. So course participants, choose what's most relevant to you. What's next? Next, we'll go into the first area of employee experience. Employee experience is the stage where a person researches the company and responds to job openings. We'll thoroughly examine all these points in the next session, discussing what exactly should be in each item to create the ideal employee experience. We'll look at this solely from an employee experience perspective and focus intensely to understand it. This concludes today's session. I'm very grateful that you were online today. Please write down what you found most valuable from this webinar. There's a comment here. I was thinking about chairs and tables with elbow room. We didn't measure humidity noise. We're in the process of automating now. That's cool, Elena. It's nice to read, also about CO2 levels. It's something many don't think about, carbon dioxide levels. High concentrations reduce well-being, decrease productivity, cause headaches, and a company can lose 35% of employee efficiency just because of elevated CO2 levels. I measured in 2 companies, and we discovered problems in both. In one company, we made the landlords turn on ventilation more actively. In the second company, we looked at how to replace the ventilation system and ventilate it more actively. And it really makes a difference. You can buy it on AliExpress. Look for CO2 meters. And for up to $20, you can get a sensor. You can buy it locally if you don't want to wait. It's a bit more expensive, but a useful tool. So friends, I'm waiting for your feedback on what you found most valuable from this. Maybe you had some insights, thoughts, or plans. Perhaps. So please share, and I'll be glad to see everyone in the course, which will have 5 more sessions starting from today. Today we had our first introductory session, and we'll be training here once a week for 5 more weeks. You'll be doing homework, receiving detailed analysis and feedback on your assignments. So I completely agree with you that CO2 and humidity are critically important. Yes, Irina, thank you for your support. Okay. All right. Well then, let's wrap it up. It seems we're not very talkative today. Perhaps you're already tired of quarantine and eager to get back to work. Tired of working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You want to go to work, do your job, come home and forget about work. Elena, where can I get? If you're already enrolled in the course, it will be in your personal account. If you're not, join the course and you'll have access to everything. Thank you for the interesting examples. Please, what time will the classes be held, like today? We started at 7 p.m. Ukraine and Moscow time. Other countries like Belarus have the same time. So it's 7 p.m. Today is Thursday, and we meet on Wednesdays. Thank you. It was interesting and lively. We're quiet because all the information is useful. It's helpful to hear about an employee's experience with their supervisor. Cool. All right, once again, thank you all very much and see you soon. See you soon. I look forward to seeing you in other classes as well. Bye-bye. That's all for now.